Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Java Basics. Today we're going to be talking about conditionals. In other words, making decisions on what Java commands to execute based on certain criteria. Now, conditionals is a large topic, so I'm going to be breaking this up into multiple videos. This is actually the first of a series of videos on conditionals. If you've missed any of the other episodes in this series, I'm going to put a link in the description below so you can catch up on anything you may have missed.
If you want to learn Java programming, or just programming in general, subscribe to this channel. We put out a lot of videos that range from beginner topics to more advanced programming concepts. Also, please like this video, share it with a friend, and write a comment as well. It goes a long way to help promote a channel like this. Now, let's get back to the video.
So here's a scenario. In New York State, we can get a driving permit if we're 16 or older. The goal is to write a program that will prompt the user for their age, print that they're eligible for a permit, but only if they're 16 or older, and then regardless, we'll print goodbye. So here we have some pseudocode. We're going to prompt them for the age, put it into the variable. We're going to print their age, and then we're going to print the message goodbye. In here, we want to write code that will print that the person is eligible to get a driver's permit, but only if they're 16 or older. And here's how we do it. We do it with a conditional. This if statement is the conditional. And let's take a look at what's going on here. If inside the brackets, it says age greater than 15. This here is the conditional. It's the question that we're asking, is it true or false? If it's true, Java will then go inside these brackets and run all the commands that are listed here. When it's done, it's going to jump out of the brackets and go down to here. However, if age is not greater than 15, in other words, if this is false, we're going to skip everything inside these brackets and instead jump all the way down to here. Let's check it out in NetBeans and see how it works. As you can see, I've created a class called Learning Conditionals, and now we're going to write the code. So here we have our integer age. And what we want to do now is we want to prompt the user using JOptionPain to enter their age. Now, JOptionPain returns a string, not an integer. So we are going to need a variable called input, and we're going to set that variable equal to JOptionPain, and we're going to do show input dialog, and we're going to pop open a message, please enter your age. Of course, I need to import for JOptionPain. All right, now we need to take this variable input and put it into age. Well, there's a problem putting a string into an integer. We need to actually convert this into an integer and then place it into this variable. And to do that, we're going to use a new method, age equals capital I integer dot parseInt input. So what this is doing is this is saying, take this input string variable, the value, run it through this method parseInt, which takes the value and converts it from a string to an integer, and then we'll take that integer and place it into the variable age. Of course, there is one slight problem with this. What happens if the person does not enter a number as their age? They could enter the word apple or hello. Those obviously can't be converted into an integer. We will cover things like that when we get into error handling. That'll be a future video. For now, we're just going to assume that the person entered a number in for their age. So now what we're going to do is we're going to print how old they are. And now we're going to print our goodbye message. Now in here, we're going to do our conditional. If age is greater than 15, and here are the brackets. So if the age is greater than 15, we do what's in these brackets. Otherwise, we skip the brackets. Well, what do we want to do? We want to print you are eligible for a permit. Let's run and see how it works. Please enter your age. Let's go with 14. It printed your age is 14. It then checked to see if your age is greater than 15. It's not, so it skips this print, jumps right down to here, and prints goodbye. Well, let's see what happens if we run it again. This time we'll enter 17. And we get your age is 17. We do this decision, this conditional. This is now true. Therefore, we go into the brackets and do this print statement. When we're done, we exit and jump down to this print statement. And that's exactly what we got in the output. What if we don't like just printing goodbye if you're not eligible for a permit? We want to print a more user-friendly message. We want to print sorry you're not eligible for a permit if you're not 16 or older. So here's our program. We have, again, the age from the prompt. We check to see if we're over 15, and then we print we're eligible for a permit. The code in here is going to handle the case where we are not over 15. And we handle that with something called an else statement. This else statement will handle the catch-all. In other words, what happens if this is not true? We fall into here. The else statement is part of the if statement. So this is all one big if statement with two pieces. We have the if part, which checks to see if this is true. If it is, we do this code. If it's not, we skip this code and jump into the else and handle this code. Regardless of which section we jump into, when we're done with that section, we jump all the way out to the end and print goodbye. Let's see how it works in NetBeans. Here we are. We're going to add an else statement here, else. And if we are not over 15, we are going to print our user-friendly message. Let's check it out. If we are 14, it prints our age is 14. It checks to see if we're greater than 15. The answer is no, that's false. So we skip this and go into the else section, which then prints, sorry, we're not eligible, which it did. And then we jump out here and print goodbye. Let's try it again. This time we'll enter 17. It prints our age is 17. It checks this. The answer is now true. So we go into this section. We print that we are eligible for a permit. When we're done with this section, we skip over the else because the else only handles when this is false. And we jump all the way down here and print goodbye. Perfect. Let's make another modification. If we're exactly 15, we want to print a different message. We're almost eligible for a permit. But before we get there, we have to talk about what kinds of things do we place into our if statement. If you recall, this piece of the conditional is a Boolean expression. In other words, it should evaluate to true or false. This does. Age greater than 15 is either a true or false expression. Let's see what other things can go in here. A logical operator is an operator that compares usually two values and answers the question, is it true or is it false? Here are some examples. A greater than B, A less than B, this is A greater than or equal to B, and here is A less than or equal to B. But what about equals B? Can we do something like this? Well, the answer is yes, but not this way. If you remember, in Java, the equal sign does not mean comparison, it means assignment. This statement is not comparing A and B. This statement is taking the value of B and placing it in the variable A. This won't work. Therefore, we have to come up with something different. And that thing is double equals. If we want to compare A to B, we use double equals. That tells Java, don't do an assignment. Instead, compare the values and return either true or false based on whether they are in fact equal. If you want to test for not equal, you do exclamation point followed by an equal sign. This is a symbol that means not equal. More on that later. We'll get into that when we talk more about logic. In the meantime, let's go back to our modification. We want to print a message if we are exactly 15 years old. So here's our code again. This is everything we've done so far. The only exception is we're going to add a piece of code here that handles the case when we are exactly 15. And we do that by using something called else if. The else if command is similar to the if command. First, we do the if statement, check to see if it's true or false. If it's true, we do this. If it's false, we jump down to here and we check the else if. If this is true, we do this. If this is false, we skip the else if and jump down to the else. There's nothing to check here because the else is a catch-all, which means if we get here, we automatically do this. Regardless of which section we go into, at the end of that section, we jump all the way down to here and print goodbye. Now, before we go into NetBeans and test this, let's trace this. Let's first start with age 17. So if the age is 17, we get here. We check to see if the age is greater than 15. The answer is yes. This is a true statement. Therefore, we jump in here. We print we are eligible for a permit. And when we're done with this section, we jump all the way down to here and print goodbye. Let's try another value. Let's try 14. If we're 14, we start here. Are we greater than 15? The answer is no. This is a false statement. So we skip this section and jump down to the else if. We go in order. Are we exactly 15? The answer is no, we are 14. This is a false statement. We skip this, jump down to the else. There's nothing to check here, there's no conditional. Therefore, we jump into the else regardless, and we print sorry. When we're done with this statement, we jump out here, and we print goodbye. Let's check another value. Let's check 15. We start here. Are we greater than 15? No, that's false. Therefore, we skip this section and jump down to the else if. Are we exactly 15? Yes, this part is true. Therefore, we go inside this section, we print we are almost eligible, and when we're done with this section, we skip over the else and jump down to the end of our if block, which prints goodbye. Now let's try it in NetBeans. Over here, we're going to add our else if. And now let's test it out. 17, we should print we are eligible. 15 should print we are almost eligible, along with the age and goodbye as usual. And 14, it should print sorry, we are not eligible. Perfect. Now it's important to note that we can have as many else if statements as we want. As you can see in this example, we have age greater than 15, we're printing we're eligible. If it's exactly 15, we're printing we're almost eligible. And now we're doing another check. If we're exactly 14, we're printing close but no cigar, and then we're printing you need to wait 2 more years. Otherwise, we will print that we're not eligible for a permit. So we have specific messages for 15 and 14 if you're not eligible for a permit. Let's see how this works in NetBeans. Over here, we will add our second else if statement. And let's try it. We'll only test 14 this time. And here we get close but no cigar. You need to wait 2 more years. Something else that's interesting is that if you have only one statement inside the brackets, you can actually remove the brackets. And what happens is you take this statement and place it up here. It's really just a shorter way of writing an if statement. But again, it only applies if you have one statement inside the bracket. For example, in this else if, there's one statement. So we can remove the brackets. And everything would move up as follows. Now this else if statement, we cannot remove the brackets. Why? Well, because we have 2 separate statements. Removing the brackets only works if there's one. Down here, we have an else statement, again, with one Java command inside the brackets. So we remove the brackets. It's a lot shorter. However, I prefer to leave the brackets. And the reason why is because I think it's clearer and easier to understand the code when you have brackets and indentations for your code for what goes inside each piece of the else if statement. But then again, everyone has their own programming style.
I hope you learned something from watching this video. Please remember to subscribe and share this video with others who are learning Java programming. Thanks for watching, and take care, everyone.